So, good morning, buenos días, everyone. We are very happy to have you all here in Summit. So, I just wanted to say you good morning, hello, welcome, and hopefully you will enjoy this whole week. We hope that you like this event. We are celebrating the 10th anniversary of this community meeting, and we are really happy for that. So I will not take much time, and I will give immediately the microphone to Sonia. Just enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. Hi, everyone. It's a real pleasure to have all of you here. Thank you so much for traveling all this way to join us. In our very special CIMIC community, we have a great relationship with the folks here. So it's a real pleasure after a few years of trying to get this meeting to happen here, to actually have it here. So welcome. And I'm just going to introduce the speakers for the PIDS workshop this morning. And they have an extensive introduction of themselves that they will do. But we have Ana Cardozo from ORCID. She is the Senior Engagement Lead of the Global Consortia in Mexico. We have Arturo Garduño Magaña. Did I say your name perfectly? DataSite Regional Engagement Specialist for Latin America. Nidia Lopez Esire, General Director. And Paula Saavedra, Consortia SAS Project Manager of Colombia. So welcome, enjoy the workshop, and enjoy. Ask a lot of questions. I have to tweet, and if you tweet, the Twitter is hashtag Dataverse 2024 with a capital D. Capital D. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. And there we go. Okay, so thank you everyone for being here. It's really a pleasure for me to be here with you, and especially talking about this passionate topic with people that I know that would be very interested. As Sonia said, we want you to make a lot of questions. I know that maybe some of you might be a little bit tired or jet lagged. We have people from everywhere that also it's great. Especially I'm here from Mexico, so it was only a 1-hour drive. I'm not tired. So please do questions, ask questions. A bit of housekeeping before we start. It's I didn't have the tweet, so please tweet. Now you have the hashtag. Hopefully you have reviewed a code of conduct, and we will be distributing the slides. Of course, I know that for some of you might be, you like to make notes, because me myself like to always make notes. But I'm doing something here. But you will have the slides. And you will need also the Wi-Fi. If you haven't, please connect to the Wi-Fi. This is what we are going to do in this workshop today. We have 5 hours, so there's coffee, there's water. Bear with me, with us, for 5 hours. We are going to have 2 breaks. We are going to have lunch, good news, and we're going to have coffee. So we are going to talk first of all about PIDS. PIDS, it's the acronym for Persistent Identifiers. I'm going to say PIDS all over, and our other speakers will talk about PIDS. So for those of you who haven't heard about PIDS, it's Persistent Identifiers. We will do a brief introduction because we didn't know how much you know about these topics. Then we will be talking from the organizations that issue these PIDS. So myself from ORCID, we have DataSite, and we will talk a little bit about ROR. We are also going to see some examples from Consortia and ESIRE that will show some use cases about some organizations that are already using and have adopted PITS. We will have lunch, then we will have the Q&A session. So maybe this might be tricky, but I will love to get your questions and answers after lunch. So maybe write them down so you don't forget. But we will have the space for Q&A after lunch. We will be doing, hopefully, funny, interesting activity, all of us together, with our help, of course, and then we will summarize and wrap up this workshop. Well, so first of all, I'm not going to take a lot of time talking about us. If you want, we can introduce ourselves very quickly. So I'm Ana Cardoso. I'm engagement lead at Orchid. I've been for about 7 years working there, and I mostly work with the Latin American region, but also some other regions talking about PITS and open science.
Nice to see you all. Nice to meet you. For those who are seeing for the first time, my name is Arturo Garduño Magaña. I am a Data Site Regional Engagement Specialist for Latin America, and it's going to be a real pleasure to share this talk about PITS for you.
Thank you so much. Hello. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Nidia Lopez. I'm from ESIRE. I'm the General Director and the leader consortium here in the region in Mexico. And it's a really pleasure to be here also with you. And please feel free to ask all of the questions you may have during the slides, and welcome.
Hi everyone, I am Paula Saavedra. I am a project manager in Consortia. We have leaders of many consortiums in the regions, and I hope that you enjoy this event.
Okay, so these are us. We will also love to know you a little bit more. I know that there's people from Brazil, I think, from some parts in Europe, from Colombia. So we will love really to know from the US. I know Rory there. And some people here. So it would be lovely if you can help us to know a little bit more about you. If you can scan the QR code, let me know if you have any troubles. So, René, are you from Brazil? Am I right there? Brazilians? Olá, bom dia. Tudo bem? Tudo bem? Eu não falo português, mas entendo. Portunhol também. If you are having troubles, let me know and we can help you. From University of Virginia, also. I know. I was checking the registry.
Okay, about the question, what are your expectations of this workshop? I have some answers, and I'm gonna read some ones. The first is learn more about PITS, okay? Understanding more about PITS and how I can effectively use them. Learning, as I am a new to CGR and the Dataverse community, okay? This is perfect for you. How Dataverse can better support PITS, okay? To learn how are others using, okay, I lost the answer. Okay. Using and would like to use the PITS and to advance RDM goals. Learn a lot of, this is very fast for me. Learn a lot about Dataverse features, functionalities, and what? And, se me perdió. And interoperability. How I use PITS or our repository, and I am more about it. Okay, and the general answer is to learn more about PITS. So it's very according to we have speaking today.
Gracias, Paula. Thank you. Okay, so sorry we couldn't show you the answers, but as I said, we have a really diverse group here from a lot of places, but mainly the idea is for all of us to understand what PITs are, how can they integrate, and how are they interoperable among them. So, to introduce PITs, it's quite important for us to know where in the open science ecosystem are PITs located. So you might be familiar with this Foster taxonomy or from the UNESCO graphic, and PITs are located as tools. So the PITs are tools in this diagram of open science. You might also know this diagram. This is the extended taxonomy that Brazilians, thank you, with other people from Latin America, Costa Rica, I think, made this extended taxonomy to get all the information included and expand the taxonomy. So, as I said, PITs, you will find PITs as tools. And what are PITs? So PITs are persistent identifiers. So PITs are going to be these links, alphanumeric links, that will not expire. You might have maybe entered a link that this URL didn't work or doesn't work. So this will not happen with PITs. These PITs are going to be resolvable, a resolvable URL, and here it says, well, an organization made a promise to make them alive. So it's also very important for you to understand where are these PITs from. So which organization is issuing or creating these PITs. PITs and their associated metadata are, you can think about these like the building blocks. The building blocks that are going to be interoperable among them and are going to be able to make the research, the open research infrastructure more trackable. I don't know if that word exists, but you can track better the research, and you are going to be to have more trusted metadata here. As you might know, there are different types of PITs. So there are PITs for people, like ORCID, or the ORCID IDs. There are PITs for organizations, and you might have heard about ROR. ROR is, first it was GRID, who were issuing this type of persistent identifiers, but now is ROR, which it's a PIT that is assigned for places, for organizations. And we also have PITs for things. This, you also might have heard about DOIs. So the DOIs, it's a type of PIT for things, outputs, different type of outputs. And so in this slide, I want to show you more details about what PITs tell you. So PITs will tell the provenance of the link, where what is this, who wrote this metadata. It's very important, it's quite important that this is machine readable. So this is also another characteristic of PITs. And it's also about policies and guarantees. So as I told you, this also will let you know about the organization that is creating this PIT. So PITs will make more open science and more interconnected science. And really the power of the PITs will come when they are interconnected, when they are going to be interoperable. That's really the power of the persistent identifiers, open persistent identifiers. As you can see here, some of them we have already mentioned. PITs can also make research fair. So Richard, and here I put this that I really loved. So research data, and I'm going to read it. Research data will not become nor stay fair by magic. We need skilled people, transparent processes, interoperable identifiers, and technologies in collaboration to build, operate, and maintain research data infrastructure. This is really quite important, and I'm going to highlight this because by using PITs, you are going to make data fair. So you might have heard about these principles of fair data. If you want really to have open policies, open science policies at your institution or at a national or regional level, it's quite important to have fair principles, to make data fair, to make this data, metadata, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. PITs, in their most basic form, will disambiguate. You know that names are not unique. So PITs will be disambiguating. And for example, in the ORCID record, you might be familiar with the ORCID profile, ORCID record. You will see that the name that the researchers are cited, or the different names that they have, will be grouped by one persistent identifier that will be the ORCID ID. And as I said, PITs will make this interoperability and information, the metadata, trusted. Also, by embedding these PITs since the very beginning of the research cycle, you will save time, reduce errors, and build trust, as I was saying. So it's quite important for you to, since the very beginning of the research cycle, start to use persistent identifiers or PITs. And I'm going to give the floor to Arturo.
Thank you so much. Now, going a little bit more deep into the idea of this workshop, the idea of connecting the research outputs and research itself is because of this. By connecting PITs, it's a good start, but we want more. The idea of connecting everything can reveal the real power of the PITs, and this is an exemplification of the PIT graph that we are going to cover a little bit more in depth as the workshop advances. But the idea is that all the related identifiers are connected in real life and also can be connected in the digital world. So what we want to show you and what we want to present you today is the importance of understanding these connections and why it can make to help researchers, to help stakeholders, of course, and of course to help everyone in the research life cycle to improve and enhance research by itself, by understanding and by aligning and supporting these kind of initiatives. This is a little bit more graphic example of how in the real world are connected these elements. We understand that the research outputs and the platforms or wherever they live are connected thanks to the people that are working in the research. And of course, the research will not be possible without the support of funders, without the support of grants. So everything is connected. And every element of this graphic and on this cycle can be connected via the persistent identifiers. For the researchers, for example, how can persistent identifiers help us to understand these connections? Well, here we can see that persons and institutions via the ORCID or the ROR IDs can be connected via their works, via Crossref, via DataCite, and of course connect back to other people and other institutions via these aforementioned elements. So if we want to show, for example, all the datasets funded by the European Commission that have been funded and cited, by a journal article, all these elements can be connected and we can find via, for example, the Crossref IDs, the funder and the grants, via the datasets, via the DataCite DOIs, and of course to relate to the publications that we are going to see via the Crossref IDs. But now that we have been talking a little bit about people, IDs, institution IDs, and then resources or research outputs IDs, I want to take a little time to talk about the DOIs, which are the persistent identifiers that can be related to the research outputs or the objects that are related to the research. So who we are, for those who haven't heard about DataCite, we are a global community that share a common interest. Basically, what we want is to ensure that the research outputs and the resources can be openly available and connected so that the reuse and the access to all these elements can help to advance knowledge across and between disciplines. And when we talk about resources, we mean from samples from the laboratory or from wherever the research is conducted, to images, for example, to data sets, and of course to preprints and to publications. So we try to enable the creation and management of these persistent identifiers by integrating services to improve research workflows, and of course to facilitate the discovery and the reuse of the research outputs and resources that I have mentioned before. We are committed to openness. So as mentioned before, we are community governed, driven, and sustained. We work with open metadata and open source elements. We try to enable, as mentioned before, the recognition for a wide range of outputs and resources, and we are going to dive a little bit more in a moment. And we want to help to build transparency and trust between this research life cycle. Here are a little bit of our numbers. We have connections with more than 3,000 repositories so far, a community of more than around 300 members so far in more than 50 countries. We have registered more than 58 million DOIs, and we work with 1,400 organizations at the moment, just a couple of weeks ago. These are the numbers of data. About our responsibilities, well, we are an active member of the International DOI Foundation and the registration agency for DOI names. So we try to provide sustainable and technical infrastructure and the services to help the people and organizations to register their DOIs, which we are going to explore a little bit in a moment. DOIs are not only URIs or URLs to assign to an object. We're going to see that there is a lot of information and a lot of elements connected and behind the DOIs that can help to identify, to access, and to enable the reuse and the findability of the research outputs. Our community members are also committed to open research and to help to enhance and help the DataCite community. And of course, they are very active members that participate in the governance, participate in the decisions of the organization, because we want to strive for the enhancing and the advancing of the research life cycle and the advancing of knowledge itself. This is how we and many other organizations envision the adoption of open research. We understand that that persistent identifiers or PIDs and the metadata are essential to ensure that the research outputs and the resources can be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. We understand that they are the building blocks for the research infrastructure, and a culture change in the research can help to foster a better understanding of the research life cycle itself. So many of you may be familiar with these kind of ideas. If we work with policies related to the open infrastructure and all its elements, of course, we can help to make it required. the incentives are also important for researchers, for stakeholders and organizations itself, so we can make it rewarding for all the people and the organizations involved. We need the communities. That's also where we are here, and we love to work with Dataverse and with all these global communities, because we can make it normative. We can understand and help each other to foster these connections. And many of you may be a little bit more familiar with this part. We also want to work with the user experience, so we can make it easier for everyone involved in this part of the process. And of course, to work with the necessary infrastructures to make it possible. Now, going a little bit more in depth I'm sorry. The invitation is, if we are working with persistent identifiers, if we are a researcher, for example, or if we are a technician that are working with developments, the invitation is to register the DOIs for the research outputs and the resources, name it, as mentioned before, a data set, an image, a software, a sample, everything that is part of the research can be assigned to a persistent identifier, and we are going to see what are the other elements behind the DOI. Because if we include the relational metadata, we can help to foster the accessibility and the findability of the research outputs. And of course, we can share our success stories, and we're going to see a little bit of that. So what's a DOI in a little bit in more depth for those that are not very familiar with that? Basically, it's a URI, as mentioned before, but this is the structure for those who have. I'm sure that if not all of you, many or most of you have seen or have been related or have seen a DOI before. This is the structure. Basically, the DOI system proxy server is the web page. We assign prefixes connected with the International DOI Foundation, and of course the suffix that can be assigned by a repository or automatically by the DOI agency, in this case DataSite. This is for all technicians that are working to implement the DOIs, and recommendations that we provide to make it easier and to make it unique, of course, for everyone that is participating in the process of creating and assigning a DOI for the research outputs. Going in the technical part, these are the elements that are also related to the DOI, because, as mentioned before, it is not only a URL or a URI. It has behind itself a lot of elements and a lot of description of the research outputs. So via the APIs that we work with, we can retrieve all this information via XML, via JSON, or via, for the user experience part, the Fabrica of DataSite, which is a UI element that can help to create a DOI or assign a DOI, but also to provide additional information from the research outputs to everyone who is interested. Speaking about the types of research outputs, we work with almost any kind of research output that you can imagine. But our specialty, or the ones that we work most with, are the research datasets and the collections that are associated with workflows, software, image, and models, of course. Also the gray literature that sometimes we tend to forget when we are speaking about the research life cycle. We sometimes try to remember the data sets and the publications, the final publications sometimes, but also the thesis, the dissertations, reports, maybe unpublished conference papers that are part of our duties as researchers and part of the outputs that comes from our research. Conference papers, newsletters, preprint journal articles, technical standards, and other specifications that can help or can be added to the institutional repository, can be worked with our metadata schema. As mentioned before, also IDs for samples are something that we are working with. We have also make a close collaboration with IGSN. So now the IGSN, the International Generic Sample Numbers, are functional DOIs. So basically we can work for the physical objects of the research with individual samples, with aggregation of samples, collection sites, destroyed or discard samples. So the idea is that all the elements that we produce in the research life cycle can be identified and can be connected between them. a little bit about the process of registering a DOI. With the membership of the DataSite, we can create via the REST API, the manual interface, the Fabrica that I mentioned before, or via the service providers that we work with. One of those is Dataverse, for example. This pays for all the other people that may be related with other kind of repositories. So we have different options for members and non-members to create and manage DOIs. This is an example of the Fabric. This is how it looks, the Fabrica of DataSite. Basically, it's an interface that can help you to create DOI and assign all the metadata that is related to the research outputs. If we want to work with the APIs, it's really easy to create and to query all the information, to connect and to retrieve the information to DataSite and back to the repository. And as mentioned before, we can work with service providers to help to create and to manage all these DOIs with more ease. The states of the DOI, again with technical part, are three. The draft, when we start the recording of a DOI, the registered state, which is one of the most popular, which are registered in the agency and can be accessible and retrievable. But the most important is the findable, so all the resources can be findable, that can be accessible for everyone, and of course are still in the registered process. The idea of having persistent identifiers is that they are not deleted. We cannot delete a persistent identifier by the idea of having it as a persistent element. Now, talking about the metadata, as mentioned before, all the DOIs are connected with metadata or with data about the research output itself. So for those who are working with the repositories, may be familiar with this element. We work with 6 mandatory properties for the DataSite metadata schema. And as you can see, almost every research output can be identified, can be connected, or can be described thanks to all these elements. Why we wanted to have this information described or richly described? Because as mentioned before, we want to connect. We want to connect the research outputs, namely the paper, the data set that is cited by a paper, for example, who is the organization that may have funded all the research and the creation of this data set, who created this data set, who may be a researcher, and to which organization is affiliated with. So with these elements, we can connect and we can create this, we call it the PID graph, that can help us to understand how science is executed in our organizations, in our countries, or in our regions. And thanks to the metadata, we can represent relationships, connections, and all the elements that are connected between the different entities. As mentioned before, we work with different organizations, so the DataSite metadata schema connects also with ORCID IDs for peoples, as mentioned before, the Aurora IDs. We can connect also with cross-refounder IDs, and all the open bits that can be retrieved, can be described and can be used thanks to this metadata schema that are an underlying information to the DOIs. Now let's go a little bit more in depth about these elements. This is the aforementioned PID graph. As you can see, the idea for this is to represent the number of nodes and connections that exist between the data sets with the software that is related, the funders that have participated in this cycle, who have also provided the necessary fundings for the creation of the publications, which are connected to the data sets, the organizations that are related, and of course the people that is behind all the research. So the idea of having this information, and this is accessible for anyone who is interested. I'm going to provide, I think if the slides are updated, if not, we can add here the link so you can start playing a little bit with the PID graph. But it's a great GraphQL element that can be retrieved from anyone who is interested to see these kind of connections, because this can also help to foster, as mentioned before, not only researchers to understand who are the other connections that have worked with, but also how the organizations are connecting with other organizations, how the countries are also connecting with other regions, and of course, how the science is being funded and is connected between all these elements. But for those that maybe had not all these technical skills, DataSite Commons, which is commons.datasite.org, is open and is free for everyone. It's a finder. It's a repository that connects with all these elements, the aforementioned elements. All the works, persistent identifiers that are openly available are connected and retrieved by the DataSite Commons searcher. The people with ORCIDs are also findable in these elements, and all its works, of course, related. And of course, the organizations can be findable and can be searched in these elements, and we can see and we can understand how works are presented. This is how it looks, the DataSite Commons, for those who are interested in exploring a little bit. If we want to search for any topic, for example, we can find all the authors related to a topic or a work related to a topic. We can also see the publication year. We can see all the elements that, thanks to having this metadata described in all these resources, can be retrieved and can be findable thanks to the consistent work of these different organizations that are striving to implement open persistent identifiers. And why we want to do that? Well, this is an element that we like to share with everyone. This is a data set that was published in 2012, and that a little bit later than its publication, it was assigned to a persistent identifier, and in 2020, if I remember correctly, it was cited by another publication. So the idea of providing persistent identifiers to the resources is also that we can make persistent access to the research output. We can make data sets, for example, that are sometimes we forget these kind of elements, as mentioned before, rather than the final publications. We can provide them a live component that can be accessible, that can be retrievable for the people over as time goes on. So this is why we believe it's important to work with these kind of open infrastructures and these kind of elements that can help to, well, provide a more lifetime for the research outputs itself. And of course, we can provide accessibility and recognition to the researchers that are behind, or the people that are behind the research itself, because also we tend to forget who are the people that participate in all the research life cycle. We tend to remember the authors of the publications. We tend to remember probably the main or the final people that are working in this research, but also we have people involved in the data collection, in the data analysis, in the samples collection. So there are a lot of people that can gain recognition thanks to the ORCID ID, thanks to the different DOIs, and of course the ROR IDs that can be acknowledged and recognized for their work. And of course, we can see in the, as mentioned before, the DataSite Commons is open. If you want to explore a little more, feel free to do so. You can see for organizations or for people what are the works related to that organization or that person, the work type. It is not presented here, but you can see if it is a data set, if it is publication, if it is, I don't know, a software development. And of course, the licenses that are related to those elements. We, of course, as we support the open culture, we invite the use of open licenses like Creative Commons, for example, is the most popular one. But also there are other elements, for example, for the development of software, that the MIT licenses or any other open license that can be that can help to foster this acknowledgement and the recognition of the people and the organizations behind this work that can be represented and retrieved via the PID graph. And this is so far the DOI part.
Okay, so ORCID's turn. who we are. So you might have heard about ORCID. I remember 6 years or 7 years ago, the questions were, how do you pronounce it? No? What is it? It's Orcid, Orchid, Orcid, Orchid, Orcid. In Mexico, it's Orcid. Latin America, it's Orcid. So, well, the questions, I'm very glad to say that now the questions are, which are the services for ORCID? Or how many ORCID IDs? Or, you know, the questions have changed since, is it me that I'm changing things here? I'm playing with a, no? Okay, so yeah, ORCID has started it has started in 2012. So we are turning 11 years right now. We celebrate our 10th anniversary 2 years ago. So we are now in 2024, right? Yes. And ORCID. ORCID is an independent and non-profit organization. We are a very small organization. We are 37 of staff working all around the world. We are a virtual organization. We have never have offices. And when I started, we were 15, so it had really grown. It had duplicated their staff, and it's completely community-driven. As I said, the registry launched in 2012, in September, October 2012, and it has been guided by our values and founding principles. As I said, we are committed to making fair data, fair open data available. We have a public API. I don't know if you know, but we have a public API, and we made this public file accessible to everyone annually. Every year around the Open Access Week, October, we made this public information available for everyone. We have the QR code. Sorry, I changed it. But it's from our annual report from 2022. We will have the annual report from 2023 available, I think, March, end of March. And some of the strategic themes I want to share with you at ORCID is from 2022 until 2025, we have been working to improve value to members and users. So if we talk about members, as I said, ORCID is a nonprofit organization that has been working thanks to our members, institutional members. And we will also want to increase or continue increasing value to researchers. We have this global participation program because we want to really increase global participation and improve our trust. So if we talk about some numbers at ORCID, this is how we look in a map. So we are almost in every country of the planet, and surprise, this just was a news that comes last week doing some analysis. So we have users that have an ORCID ID everywhere in the world except for 3 islands. That was data from last year. So last week we realized that in those islands we also have some researchers that have issued their ORCID ID. So we are glad to say that we are now in every country of the world with a representation of a researcher that have an ORCID ID. And if we talk about member organizations, we have 1,300 member organizations, mostly represented by universities. I think around 80% are universities, but there are also funders, there are also publishers, there are also research institutions that are also ORCID members. International organizations are also ORCID members. The Open Air, for example, that it's an international organization, it's an ORCID member. So if you want to know more about our members, you can go to our website and we have all the list of our members. These members are grouped in 27 national consortiums and one international, regional consortium. So this regional consortium was born last year, and Paula is going to talk more about this Latin American consortium. Remember, I talked about the strategy. So one of the strategies is increasing global participation, and one of those activities is creating this regional consortium, Latin American consortium, and what else? So yeah, researchers are more than 8 million. In active integrations, this is also a good a good number, because it's more than 5,000 integrations that are around the world. So you might have seen this in publishing submission systems, etc. We were going to see where can you integrate ORCID. And this exponential growth has been not only because of the adoption of researchers, because I can say that at the very beginning, also years ago, for a researcher, it was like, I don't want to create another profile. I have my ResearchGate, I have my Loop ID, I have my whatever. I don't want to create another profile. This is not another profile. And I'm not going to talk a lot about this. If you have questions about the difference with other profiles, we can talk at lunch or at the coffee break. But they realized that it's really different from other profiles. And so right now, the researcher really know and understand that they need only one, because this was another question. If I have 2 ORCID IDs, what do I do? You don't need 2 ORCID IDs. It's like your DNI or your, well, in Mexico it's a curve, or your identification, your national ID. So you don't need 2 ORCID IDs, so they realize that they need only one ORCID ID. And getting back to what I was saying, sorry. The researcher has noticed that, and not only because of the adoption of the researcher, but because of the adoption of institutions and even government, it's why ORCID has grown. And because there are already policies and there are already guidelines that are either mandating or highly recommended the use of ORCID. We have Planes, we have in the US the Nelson Memo that is recommending the use of persistent identifiers for every researcher that's going to ask for funding. So the use of PIDs is really increasing all over the world, and it's because policies and guidelines are including identifiers, persistent identifiers in these policies. What does ORCID provide? ORCID provides 3 things. You might know the ORCID ID, because it's the basic of ORCID. Then you will have the profile, or the ORCID record. I can say that the ORCID record is the repository where you will have all your outputs, all your production, so it's mainly formed by 3 sections: affiliation, funding, and works. So you have also other information there, but it's like your repository that you will be with this all your professional career. And the third thing, and maybe this is less known than the ORCID record, is the APIs. So the APIs, or Application Programming Interface, it's that tool that you are going to use to synchronize information between your platforms and systems at your institution to the records of your researchers. So this is going to create more valuable data that it's going to reduce administrative burden at your institution. And because of that, you are going to be able to create this virtuous circle. I don't know if I've said this, but ORCID is controlled and governed by the user. So it's user controlled. And the researcher or the user will create their ORCID record, and then they will start to authorize other systems and platforms that are going to link the information. So who is in complete control of the information? The researcher. Always the researcher is going to be in full control of their information and their data. So by creating this virtual circle, you imagine that the institution asks the researcher for their ORCID ID. The institution will collect the ORCID ID, and then they will push the affiliation. Why? Because they are the trusted source that can say, well, this researcher really is from CIMMYT, for example. So they will make this information available at the ORCID record by pushing this data into the ORCID record of the researchers. Then the researcher will ask for some funding. For example, the NIH, through their BioSketch, collect the ORCID ID, and then they will read this metadata from the ORCID record, allowing that the researcher don't put the same information in the forms that they are asking for funding. So they will reduce the administrative burden by pre-populating these forms, and they will also be pushing the funding information into the ORCID record, being them the source, the validated source. Imagine they will get the fund, and then they will publish. Once they publish, for example, OJS is a great example that have the synchronization with the profiles, and they will push all the information into the ORCID record, and also they will read from the ORCID record. So the API, in simple terms, will make this possible, making trusted sources, pushing data into the ORCID record without the user or the researcher writing the manual information in the records, and the other ones will also be able to get this trusted metadata by reading the ORCID record of the researcher. Quite important is also that the researcher authorize. I was saying that they are in complete control of their information. So it's important that every system and platform integrating with ORCID ask for permission to the researcher. So they will see this button here, create or connect your ORCID ID, and then also the institution will get the authenticated ORCID ID. This is also quite important because there are subsystems out there that ask for the ORCID ID but in a manual entry. So if there's a typo, you will not get the right or the correct ORCID ID. And that, of course, will not make sense because it's going to be another researcher. They will see the user, once they push the creator connector ORCID ID, they will see this pop-up window with this data. So they will see their, the link of the 16 digits ORCID ID. They will see who is asking for this information. So University of Milan is for instance, and the system that is asking for these ORCID IDs. And then they will see the permissions that are given. So as I was saying, they can read from the ORCID record, or they can also push to the ORCID record the metadata. With the member API, so member institutions can write data, and again, they will be the source of this data, to the ORCID records. So they can write affiliation, professional activities, funding information, publications, and other outputs, websites as well, URLs. You will not see this because this is only can be added through the member API from an institution. So peer review and research resources are also two parts of the ORCID record that can get information from another system. One question that we get a lot is which systems can ORCID get connected with? So almost every type of system and platform can get connected with the ORCID integration. CRIS systems, funding systems, HR systems, IR, editorial platforms, peer review systems, data management platforms, whatever type of system you have at your institution, either commercial or open, can get included in these integrations. We have a specific list called certified service providers, and they have been, how can I say it, tested, because they have met some requirements to get certified. So these are some examples of these certified service providers. And one characteristic that we ask them to do is push data to the ORCID record. So once they push data, that is one of the main requirements, they can get certified. Of course, there are other requirements that they need to get certification from ORCID. Here you can see, and Philip is not here anymore. Philip, there. Okay, so he's going to help me to get to this. Dataverse is going to have a complete integration with ORCID soon, hopefully. We also have, and I don't have slides here, but just very briefly, we are giving some funding to institutions that want to improve integrations, and especially that helps the Global South. So because Dataverse is fully used in the Global South, so we are going to give this funding to Dataverse to improve integration and get certified. The idea is that, similar to what this space is doing, they synchronize information, so they can push data into the ORCID record and also read data from the ORCID record to populate the repositories. These are other integrations that are there in different levels. So some of them push data, some of them not. But the idea, as I was saying, is that we can integrate all of them completely and get them certified. As you can say, I was saying we have commercial providers, we have open providers. So either way, even if there's no, and this happened a lot in Latin America mainly. There are a lot of institutions that doesn't have a service provider, and they have customized integration. So they've created, their IT department created their system or their platform, and with all these type of customized systems, they also can get integrated with ORCID, but of course they will need more development. There are a lot of workflows. We are now talking about repositories, but there are a lot of workflows, journal articles, employments. There's a whole list that you can find in our website. I don't have slides anymore. I don't know if someone can help me. We can use this time. If you have questions, maybe we can use this time for questions, for Q&A, but because we have talked a lot and we haven't asked if you have questions or comments. So I'll share the mic. Any questions?
Yeah, you mentioned that it happens that researchers create more than one ORCID. Is there any intention to sort of, from the side of ORCID, fix that issue? Because as an institution, we also encounter that issue and we don't really know how to solve it, because once an ORCID is created, can you merge it with another, or how do you fix the issue?
Thank you. Yes. And so, yeah, this is something that we cannot really filter or help you to, as an institution, to reduce, but there's of course an option that to deprecate the duplicate ORCID IDs. So as I was saying, this, you might still have some examples out there, but it has been reduced a lot. So if there is a user or a researcher with 2 or more, sometimes they have more, ORCID IDs, they can deprecate one. It will not merge the information, so they will need to choose the primary one, and then they will deprecate the one that don't have, that they decide to deprecate. But yeah, they can merge 1 or more ORCID IDs, and yeah, so that's what we can do right now. And there are a lot of also, sorry, I'm gonna say, right? No, Cés is here. Tell me.
Are you ready? I think this question is for Arturo, actually. It's about the DataSite Commons, which I love. You know, I was looking at Harvard Dataverse on there the other day, and I saw over 1,000 citations, and I got all excited. I was hoping I could click where it says over 1,000 citations and see some of the citations, maybe see the top 25 citations.
That's a really great input. But yes, inside DataSite Commons, you can explore by citation, by work, by license, by the person or the researcher behind, the topics and the years, of course. All the metadata elements that are behind the research output are expressed and related, so people can find and identify or explore the platform as they wish. But also the API is open, so you can explore and gather all this information and play with it as you wish. But yes, the idea of Commons is to improve and to update it as the people and the community expresses their needs and expresses what they would like to see. And all the DataSite members, in this case Dataverse is of course a DataSite member, can help us to improve our roadmap for the next years. And we have, and I don't have it here, but I can share it with you all in brief, the place where you can also express your ideas and share with us your ideas of how can all the services and elements in DataSite can be improved for the next years. So all the inputs are more than welcome, and I hope that you can find it useful for your intentions, the DataSite connection.
Great, thank you.
Hello, Slava. Tikhonov from Dance. I have a very strange question, but you have to think about that. Is it possible to assign ORCID not to human, but to AI agent?
No.
Well, but
I will
just
say no.
think about future situations.
Thinking
So you
about
have
the future.
research.
I haven't think about the future.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I really can know. I know that the board meeting have met, and thank you for that question. It's quite interesting, and I know that they are trying to figure out these all new information and ways of doing things with AI. So yes, I know that the board has some kind of concerns, if I might say, about the using ChatGPT, whatever technology is now. But I don't know. I don't know right now. So we have, of course, the reCAPTCHA that I don't know if it still works for AI. I don't know if AI can skip the reCAPTCHA, or I don't know. But right now, the idea, of course, is to learn more about what can be done. And we will have, of course, we will have some answers about this. I cannot say right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, it's amazing what is happening. I was seeing, sorry, I like to talk. I was seeing some pictures of food made with AI, and it grows. It's amazing what is happening still. Talking about trust. We are working on that. We are trying to keep the metadata as trusted as possible from the ORCID side, trying to make everyone to rely on the registry, on the metadata that it's there. Of course, we are not the owners of the metadata, but we are trying to make these more trustful. So one of these activities that we are doing, these answers to make data more trusted, as I was saying, first of all, is to get the source, to get the institution, push the data. And with that, the information will look like this. So every time the metadata is pushed by an institution through the API, you will see this tick, this green tick in the user interface. I don't know if someone have seen it already, because we started to do this in 2022, by the end of 2021. So you might have seen that in the ORCID records, this tick, when it's a trusted source that push this information, you will see this. We are also working, and I don't have it here, but we are working on a summary of this trusted source. So at the top of the ORCID record, you will have the summary of how many items from each section are trusted, came from trusted source. As I was saying, the idea is, of course, that your institution push your affiliation, and you will have this trusted source, that the publishers push the works, and that the funders will push the funding. That would be the ideal scenario of this trusted information, push through the API into the ORCID records. As I was saying, the trust markers are visible in the UI, in the user interface, and this is how they look like, as you can see. The sources are distinguished between self-asserted, as one person pushing manually their data, and the green tick. I told you that there are a lot of workflows where ORCID can get integrated, but now that we are talking about repositories, so the way it works with repositories and ORCID IDs, it's of course very similar with other platforms and systems, but first of all, remember that collector-connector ORCID IDs, the repository will collect the researcher's authenticated ORCID by asking for a permission, as I was showing you in the pop-up window. So the system will ask for authorization, the researcher will authorize that workflow, and the system will collect the ORCID, the authenticated ORCID IDs that then can be either displayed or used in other systems and platforms. So with a user permission, you can read or you can push information to the ORCID records, creating this synchronization flow that I was talking about by getting all what you have, theses and dissertations or whatever you have in your repository, pushed to the ORCID records, and you can also read the metadata and bring it to your repository. So we started a working group, I think around 2018, 2019. We've created a working group which get these best practices by working with repositories. We don't have a lot of time, but you can get more information about best practices for ORCID in repositories here, also in our website. This is how it looks like. This is from Federal de Uberlândia in Brazil. This is a repository in this space, and this is how it works. So they will go to the ORCID option and then get through the workflow that I just explained. So they will collect the ORCID ID and they will display the ORCID ID as well. As I was saying, authentication and trust markers are the key in these metadata reuse processes. By writing data to ORCID records from your systems, will add trust in this information because of the source that is pushing this data. And this will validate the metadata and add trustworthiness layer when ready, it's going to be read by third parties. And very quickly, and because we didn't have our ROR representative here, she couldn't be here with us, but ROR is another identifier for institutions, for affiliations. Another question that we get a lot is, I want an institutional ORCID. There's nothing like an institutional ORCID. As you saw, we have the membership and the APIs, but for institutions, there's this ROR ID and collecting data and issuing ROR IDs for institutions. At ORCID, we started to completely or almost completely use ROR because we also use another institution identifiers like READ or Ringgold. And, but you can see that the adoption of ROR has increased, and the affiliations without identifiers also has dropped when we started to use the ROR ID. If you go to an ORCID record and you go to the affiliations and you start to type your institution, you will see a drop-down menu, and that's the list that we take from ROR. And yeah, so that's the ROR ID that we are pushing to the ORCID records. Again, it can be manually entered by the researcher, and here are the three options of getting the affiliation into the ORCID record. So first of all, through the user interface, the record holder, as I was explaining, they will have this drop-down menu and they will see the ROR list. They will get the affiliation pushed. Then we also have the affiliation through the member API. If the university or the institution is an ORCID member, then they will or they can push the affiliation to the ORCID of the researchers. And a third option is through the affiliation manager. This tool is, remember, at the very beginning, I'm not going to make a test, but we have consortiums. We have 27 consortiums, and I was going to ask how many consortiums do we have. I don't know if someone will have answered, but in the interest of time, we have 27 consortiums. If the institution is a consortium member, they can use this tool of the affiliation manager, and by writing a CSV file and getting it into the tool, they can get the affiliation pushed to the ORCID record of their institution. Very simple and very easy. Oh, this is the same one. And moving forward with ROR, so soon ROR will be the only identifier. We are still using some of them, but in the near future, we will only use ROR for affiliations in the schemas. Also, we are planning to start importing the other names. So if you go to ROR, you will see that ROR is capturing all these other names in other languages, and yes, so this information will also get added into ROR, into ORCID.
Quick question. Spontaneous question. You're saying that the ROR is going to be like the link between ORCID and getting the information from institutions and affiliations, but I wonder, you're saying also and funding. Is that something different from this bid for grants? Like how are you, like why, that's my question. Like,
Yeah, so this is a good question. We are going to also use the, it's not Grant ID, they have another name, Fund ID, Fund. No, GRID was for the first ROR, so it's a grant from funding, I don't remember, but ROR is working on a grant, on an ID for grants. That's what you, yeah, so ROR is working for an ID for grants, and the idea is to have all these data, metadata, also in the schema of the funding. Integrating the fund, before it was FundRev. It was FundRev, and then now it's called something that it's within ROR, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and GRID was the database that ROR is using right now. So they are having, ROR is having all the GRID metadata right now. So GRID is disappearing, or has disappeared already. Very, very quickly, because we've run out of time, how to be a PID person. So first of all, have an ORCID ID, get identifier yourself, give DOIs to your data, and also put your reports and white papers into a repository that gives out PIDs. Tell your PIDs about PIDs. So this is quite also important. Include relevant related PIDs in the metadata, software, data sets, papers, whatever. So this is an example in Zenodo. So get your PIDs in the metadata and share your PIDs with the community. Every time, use your PIDs, everywhere, every place. Use PIDs. There's a forum if you want to know more about PIDs. If you are very engaged and you've loved PIDs, join the forum. There's also, and I didn't add it here, there's going to be in Prague in June, there's going to be a PID Fest. So we used to call it Pidapalooza years ago. Now we're calling it PID Fest. So PID Fest is a party where you will know a lot about PIDs. This is happening in Prague in June. So remember, PIDs alone do not provide much value. The value comes through embedding PIDs in other systems, connecting to them, visualizing connections, and leveraging relationships. And I think this is, yeah. So, thank you. Do we have time for Q&A? I know you might be hungry, and at 12, yes, we have a lot of time. Okay.
Hi, I have a question about the trusted sources.
Yes.
So what's an example of a not trusted sources? If me, the researcher, enters my own information, I guess I'm trusted, and everything that I have agreed to by a trusted source gets put there. So how could something not be trusted?
Okay, the trust markers came because the source of the information, not you, but the institution pushing that data, is validating that source. For example, the affiliation. So I can add an affiliation. Me, the researcher, myself, I can say, well, my affiliation is CIMIT, but that's not true. That's not a trusted information. Now, if CIMIT push this information into my ORCID record, then they will get a tick. The tick will get into your ORCID record when an institution push this information to the ORCID record, and then they will get a tick. Not for manual entries, not even if you are the owner of the record, of the ORCID record, it's still you saying that information. But we don't call that a trusted information, a trusted source. The trusted source will come from the institution that is kind of the trusted source. I don't know if this makes sense.
Right, that going through the process that I have given it, that pop-up box that says, do I trust
Exactly,
that source?
exactly.
That's where the trust comes from.
Right, that's exactly right. And you will get in your account settings, you will have the list of the trusted organizations that you have given permission to be your trusted sources. Any other questions?
Just following up on Sherry's questions, I'm Julian from Dataverse at Harvard, and if an outside organization pushes data into like Sherry's profile,
If you allow them, yes. Through the they are trusted, yeah. And it has to be trusted. You need to authorize any link to your ORCID record. Remember, it's user control, fully user control.
So, okay, yeah. So my question is, does the organization have to be verified? Like, does the organization integration, I guess, have to be verified?
Yeah, and the verification came from, because they are members. The only ones who can push data into the ORCID record are the ORCID members. So those more than 1,000 organizations are ORCID members. And of course, they have an agreement with ORCID, etc.
So you had a slide, sorry, this is like a three-part question. You had a slide earlier about like a 5,000 plus active ORCID integrations.
Yes.
Are those integrations things that you like that went through a verification process?
Excellent question. Yes and no. They are in there, but not only the trusted integrations are there. So remember there's a public API as well. So there are a lot of, we allow people to read also information. And let me double think first before answering a silly answer. Yeah, and so those 5,000 are from trusted organizations, are integrations that are synchronizing data. But there are other integrations that are made with the public API. So the public API is used to read information. They will not get information into your ORCID record. For example, a small journal that wants to get your public data, they can read from the public API, they can read data, but they cannot push data into your ORCID record. Okay, so let me see what we're doing here. Any other questions?
Hello, my name is Kees from Dans also, just like my neighbor. We have recently moved to a new repository environment with a lot of possibilities for adding identifiers, including ORCIDs. But we are now questioning whether it makes sense to retroactively provide all datasets with the authors with their ORCIDs or not, and whether this is kind of thing to do. So decide for authors to add their ORCID. Sorry?
We are using Dataverse.
We are using Dataverse as a repository.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's more like a moral issue. I mean, we are the custodians of the data, so that's agreed upon. But should we actually now provide our legacy data with authors with ORCIDs or not?
And before answering that question, so DANCE is it's an ORCID member through the consortium.
Yeah.
And well, you will get a lot of answers also in the Netherlands from your consortium lead. And it would be great if we can talk with the consortium lead. But yeah, it's a tricky question. It is indeed. But in general terms, sharing, it's one of the principles. So I would say yes.
Yeah, we're inclined to do so, but I would really value.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have any open science policies at your institution that.
Well, yeah, actually, but it's not covering in that detail. So.
Okay. Also, if you want, I have a lot of examples and
Well,
that I
that's what
can share
mean,
with you.
examples from other institute
Yes,
practices
yes.
would be
Most of the
beneficial.
cases, of course, the idea is to share and reuse.
Yeah.
Share and reuse. But yeah, I can show you examples of other institutions that are doing that already. Policies, institutional policies that are publicly available that I can share also with you.
No, and the same, of course, you already mentioned the grants, for example. Once such a system is in place, to work retroactively on grant IDs would also be quite a challenge, but very interesting and very valuable, of course. So,
Yeah, exactly.
thank you.
I can ask another killing question, if you'd like to. Why you are not using something like WAF ontology? Like WAF. Ah, you don't know WAF. So currently, if you want to export records in these ORCIDs, right? So you're getting XML or something. You're not getting RDF with all relationships. And it will be really helpful to get RDF with all authors, co-authors, and also keeping their relationships. Like this is PhD student and this professor, and they're connected together. So you don't have this information currently. Is it like a specific reason for that?
So you can have co-authors. So there are a lot of workflows that invite the co-authors to have an ORCID ID, but they would need to share as well the ORCID ID.
Mm-hmm. So technically it's possible.
Yes, of course. Yeah, in the OJS integration, they will share also the co-authors of the work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a bit of a follow-up question of what you said, Keith. You mentioned about policies, and I assume you're talking about institutional policies or national policies that indicate that users should have ORCIDs whenever they publish outputs. But something that I have heard come up again and again is that for European institutions, it's really difficult because you're forcing your members to supply their personal information to a non-GDPR compliant organization.
Which type of information is sensible?
For example, the email address that you need to set up a...
The email address is private. So
Yes, but it's in the systems of ORCID, and therefore it leaves the European Union.
no, but no one can see it.
Yeah, but that's not...
It's in the
that's not-
registry, and there is some
That's not the issue with GDPR.
compliance. So we are
data is-
GDPR compliant, completely GDPR compliant, and that's why ORCID doesn't. Yeah, and I can share some data about it, and especially because again, it's user control. The email address cannot be read only if the researcher allows. There are 3 visibility settings at the ORCID level, at the researcher level. So it's private, available for organizations that are trusted, and private. An example is...
if it is private, where is it stored?
Sorry?
If it is private, where is it stored?
So it's in the registry. It
Yes,
is
but
in the registry.
the location of the servers or the storage.
The location on the servers. Well, we have servers in the US and in the UK.
So it's not...
But it's GDPR compliant.
Anyway, hopping back on it.
I'm not a data privacy, but yeah, I can show you if you have, because I don't want you to have questions about that. Even we have just hired the data privacy steward, how do you say it? A person specialized in data privacy. So we are really in compliance with all that data privacy. But we can talk more about it.
Slava's question made me think about, I think he said like a student-professor relationship. Like maybe you studied under someone, you got your PhD under someone. Does ORCID have any interest in tracking that relationship, that this person was a student of that person?
Okay, any more questions? Before we... what are we going to do? Okay.
wanted to ask, I mean, in thinking about Dataverse integration with ORCID, the use case that we have that I think is hard to handle is...
Can you, yeah,
Yeah, is it better? The use case we have that I think is hard to handle, especially with your best practice guidances, is that one person will enter a data set and have co-authors. And so we could potentially have one person log in with their ORCID so we know it's really them, but the co-authors aren't in the system. And so we also want to capture their ORCIDs, but we can't have them log in. And then if you keep that scenario going, say that person did it at Harvard, and say even Harvard is a member, Harvard could push for its members into ORCID, but is it really something where anybody in the world, Harvard is going to push through on their
so
behalf?
if I get your question right, so it would get invited by the author, by the main author. So the main author can invite co-authors, and then they will get the ORCID ID, and they will also get
They have ORCIDs. They have ORCIDs. They're just not. They are not members. They are not. They haven't signed into Dataverse, right? They're not in the system. They're not on the system now for sure. And the one main author who is just logged in wants to add their ORCIDs, right? And we don't necessarily, right? Those people may not be in the system in Dataverse. We also may not want to push on their behalf because they haven't validated that, yes, they are a co-author, right? We're trusting the main person who logged in. We could potentially start being viral and try and push everybody who's a co-author to have to join the Dataverse and log into us and that sort of thing. But I think that gets pretty heavyweight, and that's the concern, I think, is that right now the way we have it in Dataverse is that those ORCIDs will get to DataSite, they will be in the records, but they are essentially manually entered.
Okay, interesting questions. And maybe this conversation can get on and on, but we can talk even with our product team and see what they say.
And we're going to have time to also get deep a little bit more with this topic, so we invite you to keep the conversation today. But for the time's sake, we are going to advance with the next parts of the presentation. So if we may give space for Nidia.
Okay, so we are almost close to go launch. And this is a really brief presentation about the consortium here in Mexico. And the consortium about PID in the region is led by ESIRE. And we work with different open science projects, especially in Latin America region. But who we are? Can you hear me? I don't know. Okay, thank you. We work with different academic and research institutions. Most of them are from Mexico, but also we work with different other countries, for example, Peru, Colombia, Argentina, and with other countries in the Ibero-America region. Hello? Hola? Hola? And all of these projects are related with the open science practices. For example, if they are interested to work with data, research data and citizen science, or for example, about the public access of the resources from the institution, we work with them. And that's why we created the consortium. We started with DataSite in 2021. And we created a consortium only with 3 institutions. But at this moment, we have 10 institutions in the consortium.
and they are from different countries. For example, there is one institution from Spain, 6 from Mexico, 1 from Peru, and another one from Colombia. And at this moment, all of these institutions have created 7,700 DOIs, more or less. And the way they are relating these PITs are according to the different projects they are working. For example, most of them are using DOIs for data sets. But if you can see, most of the DOIs were created in 2022. And this was because they created projects, for example, to connect different academic documents, for example, journal articles, but also the institutions are creating OERs, or Open Educational Resources. And most of the institutions from the consortium are working with the different levels of the people. For example, some of them are researchers, for sure, but also they're working with professors because they are creating these educational resources, and they publish these documents in the documental repository, and they assign a DOI to all of these resources. Also, they are assigning these kind of bits to other kind of documents. For example, different book chapters or conference papers, because they are publishing this kind of academic activity in their own repository. And also with, someone can help me to share a screen again. And with ORCID, we started the last year in Mexico. We started with 11 members, and at this moment, we have helped the members to connect their platforms, and there are 13 connections at this moment. All of these connections have been done by us, by our technical IT team, sorry. And we have worked with, most of them are from OGS, with the academic journals, but also with their own development systems. For example, in the Tecnológico de Monterrey, they are connecting ORCID with an own system, kind of GRIS system that they developed, and also with Vivo, that is a platform to manage these research profiles. And the way we implement, or we help to the institutions to implement this PID culture, is first, we help them to analyze the situation, the current situation, what they need, and what are going to be the profiles that they are going to work with. For example, if they are going to focus on professors or researchers or journal editors, for example, we start with them, and then we help them to create little guidelines to implement this culture. This is not only for assign DOI and that's it, but it's the way they implement the culture with the people in the institution, and also with the main roles in the institution or in a department. And then we work with them a pilot test to see how these guidelines are working, or how the people are getting, how they are receiving this new culture. And then we try to connect different points. For example, most of the documents are from research activity, but also they are linking some cultural documents. For example, historical documents that they created 50 years ago, and they publish all of these archives in the repository. And also some of the institutions are interested to connect some art resources. And for that, they are working or they are planning to assign IGSN, the new DOI that DataSite is working with. And with this PID ecosystem, they connect DOI with ORCID also, and ROR. And in this way, for example, in DataSite Commons, they can see increase of the visibility of the people and also with of the documents they are publishing. And in this way, we work these kind of projects where also we provide training to the institutions, and we set an agenda at different dates to give these trainings according to the profiles of each department, because some of them are librarians, but also there are journal editors, and also there are researchers, and this one is the most difficult to work with because they are really busy with their projects, but we have worked this workflow before, and they are getting good results. At this moment, we are disseminating the PIT culture, and we have talked with a lot of institutions around the region. And for example, we give webinars about the importance of the DOIs, IGSN, and also ORCID. And we have reached out 19 institutions with people from 11 countries. And we have worked with most of 5,000 people in the region with a specific with a specialized training. Some of them are professors, librarians, and editors. Here are some of the strategies that we are working with. For example, we give specialized webinars. In this year, for example, we work with Universidad Panamericana, that is one of the members of the consortium here in Mexico, and we work with them to promote the use of ORCID as a complete profile of the researcher. Not only just create an ORCID and let it empty, but filling all the form about the keywords, the biography, the education, and the current work they are doing. And also, for example, we help to the institutions interested to connect the ORCID with the ROR in the ORCID system. We help them to understand better what is ROR, because there are too many questions about this with the institutions, at least in the region. And also, for example, how they can connect their repositories, for example, this space, with this kind of bits. Also, we provide training to the institution. For example, how to assign a DOI, or how to get the statistics from the different platforms, for example, from DataSite, from Fabrica, how they can use this platform, and also from ORCID. And this is very important because in this way we provide enough information for the institution to be independent for themselves, and also we help with the connection for the institutions, the technical connection. From DataSite, we are service providers also, so we know the system in a technical way. And also, we are giving very frequently different webinars about this. And also we work with DataSite, with ROR, and with ORCID, for example, to give these webinars. But mainly with the dissemination language, not for the specialized people, but for the general users that are interested to know more about this. For example, the digital identity. Most of the researchers are like not very doesn't know how they can use ORCID, and they think that it is just about create an ORC ID and that's it. But they can fill their profile, and we work with them about this PID culture. And for example, with the Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla here in Mexico, we work this strategy, and they created this OER, and they published it in the library of the institution. They created this material with different educational standards. For example, this is in a SCORM, structure, and they publish it for different profiles. This is one OER dedicated to the professor's profile, but also they created this material in a vocabulary dedicated to the researchers, and also they are promoting this material for students. They are creating material according to the profile. This is very important. And at this moment, we are thinking about how they can connect different PIDs, and also how they can use these tools for the Web 3.0. That is a new era of the technology. And for example, how they can use blockchain to connect these identifiers for the Web 2.0 and also for the Web 3.0. And that's what we are working on at this moment. And okay, it doesn't work. Oh, no, that's it from my side. I think it's a good time to go lunch. And if you have any questions, please raise your hand. Or if we are ready to, okay.
Hi, thank you. So you mentioned, sorry, you mentioned that you do an institutional analysis and then you provide guidelines for the usage of bits, right? So how do you go about making, helping people agree on how to use something when there's different domains that might want to use the same fields with a different granularity or with a different meaning? Do you do co-design workshops? Like, how do you go about that?
Yeah, we start with the, for example, with the research department area, and we focus in a small group of the main researchers. And with them, we start creating these guidelines. Obviously, this process takes a long time. It depends on the institution because it should be approved by the general direction of the university. And then we start with this small group, like 5 people, with a little training. And with this, we can verify if the summary is a good option or if we need to make some changes. And then we start with a little bigger group, for example, 20 people. And with this, we can disseminate in an order way with this culture. And also, we focus on show to the users, to the final users, a really easy process For example, some of them are using data repositories, and also they are all using documented repositories. It could be Dataverse and DSpace. But for the users, they are saying, because why I should use two platforms? And with these institutions, we are working to connect in just one interface. The researcher can upload the data set and also the project, the final project. And once they have created a journal article of this project, they can connect this product, this academic product. And that's the way we work. Also, we promote different events from the library to disseminate these concepts, because most of the people doesn't know what is open science even. And we start with these trainings, with these conferences, little conferences from the library, and with the academic area. We work with both departments.
Okay, so you do a bottom-up approach and focus on a specific use case and try to solve that for them rather than just creating a guideline for everyone, so to speak.
Yes, we start with this because if we try to work with all the people from the institution, it's really difficult, and we focus on each profile from the institution.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. I was interested in your last comment about exploring the use of blockchain, and I think I'm pretty sure I heard a presentation by some folks in Brazil a couple of years ago who were doing something similar. I'm curious, are you working with the people in Brazil, and is there any more information online about what you're doing?
Yeah, we are in touch with them because they are the first one in Latin America region that started to work with blockchain, for example. And the way they created the national CRI system is a very interesting project. And we are trying to understand how because they are in a different context. For example, if we compare the Mexico situation with Brazil's situation, is totally different. But we are trying to apply some of these best practices and these success cases with the institutional level. And we are getting good results. We hope that in the next years, we could be a little ecosystem like Brazil, because they are working, they are connecting different departments in governance level and also with the academic institutions. But yes, we are in touch with them. But at least here in Mexico, there are a long way to work with yet.
Thank you.
So, I think that's it. Okay, we are ready to go lunch. So thank you so much. See you in 1 hour.
Yo creo que ya tienes.
¿Listo? ¿Empiezo?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Eh, well, I'm going to present our experience of using the pits in the region with the consortium and the impact that we have working with Dataverse, ORCID, and DataSite. Okay, I am from Colombia. We are a consortia. We are probably a UNED Colombian company. I created 11 years ago, and our purpose is have a conformation of consortiums to acquisition of bibliographic material and under a favorable price in the institutions on our country. And in general, this is a little definition what is a consortium. So this is a formation of the many institutions in the group to join together to the object, and if case is obtain benefits with the joint negotiation and electronic resource. So first, the first consortium I am going talking about is ORCID LAC. This is a consortium with ORCID, and our objective is adoption, integration, and implementation of ORCID in the institutions that I have in this. All it is a standardization of Latin American authors to the specific word through the ORCID premium membership. We show the benefits of the membership of the institutions for researchers or academic community in general. And the first is manage the organization names with automatic connections, and the research will be facilitated uploading information in their profiles from validated systems of the institutions. To make this possible, we divide the project into parts. The first is an initial session with researchers, library, and technology areas to write the context of the project, show the benefits, and understand what are the systems that with the possibility interoperability with ORCID. And the second part is the institutions have a decision, the system what they have integrate, and we made support to installation in test environmental, provide technical support, and a little support in the installation if product environmental. We currently have the following members: 64 members in Colombia, 5 members in Peru, 2 members in Costa Rica, and 2 members in Salvador. In the terms of integration, we have 55 integrations in production environmental and 34 integrations in sandbox environmental, and there are the integrated system that we have worked, OGS, DSpace, Vivo, ORCID Affiliation Manager, the functionality that Anna explained to us, pure and own development of the different institutions. This is the number general of the according to integrate information systems, and this is okay. This is the impact we had with the integrations in the region. More than 70,000 users, and the high number in this integration is the connection with the OGS. We have several have impact with the different members with a strategy with 4,000 users around the region with webinars and trainings. And we have talked about the digital identity, and this is very, very received with our users. In terms of time, the system OGS is the quickest integration. When we request the credential application, maybe I start or end one day. Then we release the credential configuration. Approximately, we have 10 minutes per magazine, so this is quickly. And then we have do the test of the correctly operations. So we have an integration with a consortium, especially in Colombia, that this is a portal, a unique portal, when to make the visible the academic profile and the institutionals and their capacity. So this is Guido. This system has a ORCID integration to integrate the research profile with the authors in the region. We send an email with each researcher, and they who do step by step for this integration. The process of affiliation manager functionality is very, very fast too. We do the application for the credentials, then explain to the user how to use the platform, and explain the process that they have with the different researchers in the organization, and then we test the correct operation. Okay, this is another consortium that we have worked. This is a research data repositories by consortium model. This is a project with Dataverse and DataSite. We are managing the repository for the different institutions, particularly in Colombia. We have motivated as the first, the work collaboratively, promote the open science, make the production of the institutionals in international scenarios, support the development data of the repositories, of course, reduce cost, and use the more technology infrastructure and the qualified human resource. In terms of numbers, we have 12 institutions in this consortium joint management space, and 2 institutions in independently space, but with collections their data. And of course, we have an institutional with data side apart. This is our timeline. In the year 2021, we establishing the consortium with data side. Then we have the acquisition for the server and the storage space. Then we have in 2022 the implementation of Dataverse. Then in this year we have training and show the different institutions how to management roles and responsibilities. And from now, pues, I have technical administrations, financial, and communication support and support strategy with the different institutions. I forget the project. The project name is Papyrus. In terms of PITs, we have a great impact, not only in the data repository, because we have also the institutional repository well, and this is our numbers, and that we have done. We have the platform called Papyrus. This is the URL. The URL is Papyrus. No sé cómo se guión. hyphen datos.co. And we have carried out several activities and webinars to help institutions in this process and help to using the PITs in the repository with technical trainings. We have created a data management plan for all institutions. We have a webinar about metadata definitions, experience of the particular institutions, and live examples, they using how to use the repository. So I'm introduced again. I am Paula Saavedra. I am project manager at Consortia, and we here you will my contact information for any question or any case. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So next, to continue the workshop, the idea for today's activity is the next one. We're going to do a role play. So the idea is to form 3 groups, or maybe 4, because of the number of attendees. The idea is to form 4 groups. Each group will represent a different university. This is all fiction, so you can provide a name and description of your university, to define a location. the point here is that each university will need representatives from the different departments listed here on the map. And choose someone from the team to be the decision maker from the research office. The idea is that the rest of the team will need to combine the research officer to implement and adopt persistent identifiers at the university as part of your open science policy. You can use either slides on your computer or the paper that we provide there on this part of the room to present your ideas, and each team will have, by the end of the activity, 10 minutes to talk with the research office director. So the idea is to form 4 groups. Maybe we can.
Yeah, so we have paper and we have blackboards somewhere. We have these type of blackboards here that we can also use. Of course, we will be helping you on doing this activity. The idea is for you to have some message to your decision maker about PITS. So you would need to engage them in order to adopt PITS. So you are trying to make them adopt PITS at your institution. I don't know if there's questions, if this was clear. You can do the groups with the people you want to, or we can make the groups. We don't want to make like very big groups. That's why we were saying maybe 4 groups, because we are like 30 something in the room. Of course, let's have fun with this activity. We will be with you in order to help you with this message, with the wording that you are going to use to the research office. And you will present to everyone your statements or the benefits of using PITS. So come with, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, depending on how many you think you would need to talk about the benefits of PITS. And we have presents, right, for the winner? We have kind of a present for the winner, for the team who have the better arguments for adopting PITS at their institution. So let's use, how many? Can you help me to count?
27.
27. Okay, so my math. So if we make 3 or 4? Okay, so 4 teams? Yes, it's better to do. Okay, let's do 4 teams. And let's have one here. Do you want me to make the groups? Would it be easier?
I think people is already finding or matching.
So I think the Brazilians understand perfectly what I'm talking about. Okay, and the Netherlands are going to join the Brazilians. That's what I like.
The idea here is
That's
also...
what I like. So we have Brazil, Netherlands, the US here, with maybe Europe here. You want to do a team together? How many? ¿Cuántos por equipo?
De 6 a 7.
6 a 7. 6 to 7. 6 a 7. Gustavo, where are you? With which team? So we are not participating, we are just helping. So we have Paola and the CIMI team there. Gustavo, do you want to join Paola? Or are you're going there? Es que acá solo está Paola. If you need markers, if you need any... Pues ahí está Paola. Ella va a participar con Eunice. ¿Te vas con ella? ¿Quién más? Las matemáticas no me salen. Creo que ya están todos. Ya que son 1, 2, 3, 4. Entonces vénganse todos para acá. Ya, ¿no? Okay. Aquí no. Acá. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we have three teams at the end. Okay, so.
We have. So you're going to be team number 1. If you have any questions at any point, please feel free to reach out. Team 2, if you want to use the boards or your computer, you feel free to.
Yeah, you can work in your computers or paper, and then you can use the paper there to present. So, do you have any questions?
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. We have a lost jacket here, so if there.
Is there a prize for the one who wins? They are already engraving our names on it? That's sorry, exactly. Teacher, not that. Probably is basically like the person that, like, well, the guy that does regarding science and research, that's usually a top director, first that's the problem.
This is only a basic example of scenario where, for example, you would need people from, people involved from IT, you would need people from education, I don't know if you have, but remember that you would need to communicate regularly. That's just for academic use. Yeah, it's not mandatory. Maybe you have kind of, maybe it's a small university and you don't have, you don't do that. That's again an example of some universities that have that different.
But in which case is that considered for
Involved?
yes.
Or identify, or interconnection of how we trans to the.
Yeah, and then to be trying to comply with whatever funding requirements they've gotten. Yeah. Now we know who I'm looking for. We need I'm going to organize people, someone else has to make a decision.
We don't want to give money or some years ago, right here.
So Gustavo, where are you?
I'm HR. And then, let me see.
We have to convince Paola.
Okay. Oh, well, we already have an open sign.
We don't have Paula's. We should be in line with it. So Paola is also research officer and podcast. Yeah, like basically you have the similar standpoint.
So HQ will have 10 minutes.
So where the problem is coming? What do you see? Who's the first one asking it or sending the
Libraries.
Go for it. There's this person that came with us, and you can remember, and read all the requirements they had, and there's something about like making data be open whatever, and they want us to have something for identifiers or something fixed that I don't know. Have you heard about it? Basically, you want to get money from them, if you want to get money from them, what we need is to comply with their policies, and the policy says that we need to make data available, and it has to be identified. Because their policy. And this is library assistance management. What?
It's important to our researchers. It's to make sure our researchers are happy and successful, that their careers are growing. And so they're watching them as well because they want to have it to the work that I use to represent themselves and the site ID, the UI in order for people to be published and cited for their work, and that will help their career.
They also need to stay.
If not, they will need to go to other universities.
They are demanding. I like this. Because the yellow bird like are better than not like who wants to be in Harvard? I have something in mind. You need to pay for the consultant, but you don't know. You don't know because you're very Okay, you want the system that connects the, okay. So you have a system to connect, yes, to connect Okay. I like this one. Because I'm IT person. And actually on that, let's say that we can showcase all the production that we've been doing through the funding that we're getting. Maybe it'll be easier for us to get more funding. How you're relating the production with the bits? Because I'll be able to track, for instance, let's say that through the foundation gives me a thousand, and they have the UI, and they attach the UI to the paper, whatever, when producing reports, when they which part of the KPIs, it'll be not only informative for us as a university, but also and for the researcher. Where's my HR person? For the researcher, it's busy. For me to be able to allocate some web resources to forthcoming companies. So like we've done amazing things with money from all of the funders, it would be easier for me to do because today that's me. Like I have to navigate through a lot of paper. It's almost impossible for me to identify what the university is. Not raining. Why do I have to pay for it? Because the students are asking to know if their professors are doing that. They want to know the citations and to have it right. Because of the citation, because the professor sometimes are measured by citations, right? So we need to have information all in one place. That also needs to be worked out because how many platforms do you have in
Forgetting something very important. No one has mentioned that. That's why you're the boss. If someone says what I'm thinking about, I will say yes. Not too much. It's not marketing. No. No, okay. Yeah, at the end you can figure it through the QuickBooks. How do you integrate? You're going to do that now? No, I think they are. He does the hiring, so and the paper, so. Where should you start? We start? No. It's something very obvious. At this day. Nowadays? Yeah. It is very obvious. AI. No. Climate change. But yeah, you know that. No. Starts with an A. Starts with a B. Starts with a C. Dice que research transparency, ethics, editorial houses are
Needs to present. When you are going to have, each of the teams are going to have, is going to have 10 minutes here to present to the rest of the teams. So the ones that are going to pass here and present in minutes is going to be, of course, the research office, and you can, and we can say the project manager or one representative of the other areas. Or if you want to go with all your areas, that's also possible. If you want to only have one person that talk with the research office, that's also good. But remember to have your statements or something that you can present to the rest of the teams. Question? Okay? And you have 10 more minutes.
I'm very good. Yeah, exactly. You can take it. So, we can put it, use it from you. We know that. We know. That's always the problem. Because I always like, that's always the problem.
We have 5 more minutes.
Make an estimation. So we are in a situation where we want to do it, but we don't know how much to have it, we don't know how much information, we don't know. I want this situation so all those things are easy and true, beneficial. Exactly. Maybe we can have to. Oh, it's true. For the one that we are going to ask This is the uncaffeinated version. On a daily basis, I drink coffee. Oh yeah. Now,
This isn't the right sentence.
So one for MSC, and one
Time has ended. So we invite you and remember to name one representative of the different areas, the research officer, of course, and start preparing yourselves because the idea is to go here and present to the rest of the teams what are the arguments, the counter arguments, and then what were the solutions that you ended up with. Also, a friendly reminder that the winner team is going to have a prize. Incentives, remember the graphic. Is there a team that wants to be the first one? Or shall we decide? So team number one, if you're ready to present, the stage is yours. Yes, the idea is that one representative or all the team, the idea is to compress in 10 minutes what were the arguments, what were the needs from the teacher. Okay. And then if the research officer what were the why what's the needs, then so first microphone. So team number one. Or only one that comprises it. The idea is to comprise most of the talk that you have. Also, remember to share what is the name of the university, a little bit of the content, just a little bit. And that's it. Right. So sure.
No hay necesidad. No hay necesidad. Los enfoques.
Okay, we're going to get started. We're just waiting until people settle down. Yeah.
Attention, please. We are
Markers
going to go
down.
with team number one.
We are the Dataverse University in Mexico. We had team members from the IT at our institution, the library, a research office, communication, our privacy, security, and legal team, our researchers, our users, and our grants office. We each petitioned our research office because we really want PIDs. IT, it enables integration. It connects systems with wonderful APIs. I use the word wonderful, okay. And it also taps into the existing communities that are already around PIDs. The library, it helps standardize things. It also allows integration with our current library systems. And it's very good at multidisciplinary teams. Communications, it'll help us to monitor our performance metrics. It allows us to do scientific communication with what our researchers are doing, and it increases our visibility of our researchers on Dataverse University. Privacy, legal, and security, we are respecting the data privacy, and by using PIDs, we are implementing their existing certification that has already been done in this area. Our users, our researchers, it's going to ease the administrative burdens. We will only have to log in using one ID, our ORCID ID. And it's also going to implement existing, oh, sorry, wrong one. It's also going to put trust in my research, in my work, if I have all my items that I share linked together. The grants office, it's going to help the grants office in tracking compliance with funder references and ORCID IDs. And it's also going to follow grants and research and users by connecting all the PIDs together. May I have money, please?
So as the rest of the group will tell you afterwards, I'm not an easy sell. Here at Dataverse University, in the research office, we don't just do things on an ad hoc basis. We have processes and standards, and we try to live up to them. So when we evaluate any new funding request like this, there are three things we have to think about. First of all, is there a vision? Is there a coherent plan? Secondly, is there an organization? Is there an organizational unit and people in that unit that can deliver that plan? The third thing is, does the plan have money? Well, that's my decision whether or not it has money. But in order to make that decision, we had to think about the first two things. So when I questioned the various people from the various groups, that's what I was thinking. Is there a vision? Is there a plan? And do we have the organization to implement it? So the groups that I thought were most relevant to making this decision were IT, library, and privacy, security, and legal. The others, they had good ideas, and it was great, but I didn't really focus on them. So one of the things I said to IT was, well, great, you say you're going to support this, but are you going to need additional resources? You want to hire more people to do it, or do you have the people to do it now? When it came to the library, typically I've done a little bit of benchmarking against other universities, and I've discovered that it's usually libraries that actually manage PIDs. So I said to the libraries, well, this sounds good, but do you have existing people that already know how to do this? Are you thinking about hiring more people? So those are the kind of questions that I asked for the library. And privacy and security legal is pretty important because we are very risk averse here at Dataverse University. We know other universities have gotten in serious trouble for privacy violations. We're not going to let that happen here. So when the privacy person made their pitch, I actually gave him a fairly hard time. And I said, well, have you really done the work that you need to do to investigate whether or not implementing a PIDs policy really is going to be compliant with GDPR? Well, at the end of the day, they were an impressive group. And we have a little bit of extra funding in the budget this year, which I managed to find. And so the answer was yes.
Thank you so much, Dataverse University in Mexico. Now let's go with team number 2. Please, if the research officer and the representative or representatives may join us in the stage.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So,
Hi.
so we are the Universidad del PID del Sud. Yes.
De España.
Yes, and we have noticed that Universidad del PID del Norte is doing a lot of work on PIDs and getting a lot of good exposure on that, and everyone's looking at all the citations they're getting. So I've been called here to try to convince the research officer on that. She seemed pretty convinced already, but I'll try anyway. So I'm guessing that what you care about money. You care about making people and also yourself happy, spending less resources yourself, as well as, there's some policies you might want to try to make sure you abide by that causes less issues in the long term. And you also want to really be a leading university that's forward thinking. Is that correct? Is that how you feel?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So orchid IDs are free for researchers. So it'd be really easy to start adopting those. And you also would be able, by adopting PIDs, to have easier assessment and less effort for researchers to go through some of these assessments by having all of those PIDs that already register all that information for them. And RORs are also free. And they handle things like the name variants of your institution. So, Del Norte, Del Sur can be separated out. You have a unique ID, and you can see all the research that's being made, and that's really important. That removes all the manual work of the bibliometry, because you care about the analytics. You want to know where you have gaps, where you can improve, what are your results, how many PIDs are you minting, how are they reused, what citations you're getting, and analytics will help you in both becoming a more prestigious university. It'll make people happy, and it'll also save money in the long term to not have to do it manually. Funders are also requiring PIDs, so you might as well get ahead on that. There's the Spanish open science policy that is, as it says, a policy, and that will only become stronger in the future. So you'll want to adopt that as soon as you can. And you want to be on board with the latest open science developments to really showcase that. Then in terms of making your researchers happy, IGSN IDs for sample management are actually IDs that people want to use to track their samples. And researchers and universities like the visibility and being able to see all the projects that were funded. A PID graph allows for institutional relationships to be tracked and collaborations to be visible. And if you join a very nice Spanish consortium at DataSite, you might not have to pay that much to take part in minting DOIs, as well as you'd be able to really advertise the needs of your university and really push for the development of the schema and of the work at your consortium. So it's also very much a good collaborative effort. And finally, the Spanish government is very good at actually providing some schemes so that the data and RDM people are able to take on this responsibility and apply for these grants and write these policies so that it's all done consistently and there is a single point of contact for all of these involvements, rather than feeling like, another person has to make time in their job for that. So we've already accounted for that in our budget and project. So so how do you feel about that? Like, do you have any feedback?
We are talking to the Spanish ministry, actually, and they are pushing us to be at the top level in open science, and not only at the national level, because we are a very, very strong university and we want to grow more. We want also to have a role in Europe. And we know that the European Open Science Cloud is very pushing hard and is giving a lot of money for this. So
I completely understand your needs.
Yeah, so we need to take advantage of that. So if this is really coherent and it is a project for giving us a top position, not only in Spain, not only in Europe, but also at the international level with very good communications with other institutions that are using the same policy, I might agree. We can talk about the numbers later, but we are in a good position.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance, yes.
Thank you so much. Universidad de Pits del Sur, de España, right?
Sorry?
Universidad de Pits del Sur?
Yes, that's
España. Thank you so much. And now let's go with team number 3. The stage is yours.
So my colleague is not here, but I'll tell you how they convinced me. So from the librarian perspective, they were talking about that we need to have more visibility for researchers. And our name, the name of, I'm sorry. So we are Macondo University. We are based in Aracataca, Colombia. And then we have different units. No, this one, we didn't have comms. So we have HR, we have Gustavo from HR. Then we have Carelia from the library. Then from the grants office, we have Eunice, Central ID, Solomon, Academic Unit, Monse. And then we have Research Office, myself. Now, taking into consideration that we already have the open science policy, the librarians were talking about how to increase the visibility of our research. And then from the grants management, they were talking about a request from the funders, and it is that to make data available. And of course, because of their policy, they requested us to have bids. Not only because of our policy, because of theirs. And then we have HR, and they mentioned that they want to make people happy, the students happy, the researchers happy. So if if they already have the DOIs and then we can have the bids, we can make them happy. And the students and the researchers were demanding us to have that. Then Solomon from the IT, he mentioned that he's able to have a system to connect, for example, the different KPIs and the bids. And also not only for producing those reports, but and also for tracking the research of our university. Then it was mentioned also that the publishers have their own policies, and now it is a request, it's mandatory to have these bids in order to publish the different research products that we are producing in our university. And the academic unit mentioned that the professor are measured by the citations, also students, so it is requested, it is a requirement for us. And of course, for the students, to attract more students to our university, implementing these bids in our university is like a marketing and motivation strategy, plus research, so we can join forces between research and the students. And as a proposal, we decided to have a pilot project. So we start from the very beginning, just with certain key researchers and trying to implement it, and then we can see how much it will cost and how we are going to implement it as a final product for the university. That's it.
Thank you so much, Macondo University. Thank you so much. I think all three teams did it great, presented all the perspectives and all the needs of your communities. So now we're going to take a couple of minutes to deliver the results of this activity. We invite you to take a cup of coffee, a little of water, maybe go to the bathroom for a couple of minutes. 10 minutes? So, and in 10 minutes, we're going to go back. 5 minutes. Exactly. 5 minutes to refresh a little bit. We're going to go back to deliver the results of the activity and also to close the workshop with one final survey. Exactly. So, thank you so much. See you in 5 minutes.
No, faltan. ¿Seguro? ¿Se escaparon? Okay. Are we ready? Okay, we're almost done. And first of all, thank you really so much. I hope you've enjoyed, same as we have done. We were really happy and enjoyed when you were working together. It was really a pleasure for us to be here with you, to see you working with PIDS. This is something that we will love to see going forward, not only here, but among institutions, among regions, etc. So, without further ado, congratulations to everyone. You've done great. We have really a big discussion about who the winner was going to be, because all of you have great arguments. All of you have benefits. Most of you, no, all of you really included things that we've presented. So I was telling to the team that it was nice to see that you were paying attention. So thank you. And no, really, it was, again, sorry, but it was really a pleasure for us to see you working together. So congratulations for all the three teams. The reasons that we decided the winner was, and I'm going to tell you the list of things that we liked with every team. The first team in Mexico, Dataverse University, talked about data privacy policies. That was really great. And I think it was the only team that included that. We saw that you know a lot about also integrations, because you mentioned the APIs, integrations, systems, processes and standards. So you have great arguments as well. Here, the university, the PIDS University in Spain, also had a lot of information regarding the different type of PIDS. You included ROR, which we loved, that you've included ROR IDs. You included, and we really loved that, national open policies, strategies, and the last team, the third team, they have human resources included in the team, and they have a lot of arguments, also visibility. And also let me tell you very quickly that this was also interesting, because for you, you can see that there are several departments. When you are going to establish a PID policy, a PID strategy at your institution, it's important to take into consideration that what you need. Not only you need, because, and I listened to Rory saying this, that maybe it's the library, no? Or it initiate in the library, the idea of having some of these PIDs, but it's a larger figure. It's a larger project where you need a lot of people involved. People, of course, mean also resources and training. You also say something about training. I've been listening to some of the arguments, and it was really good for you to do this exercise of conscientization. I don't know if the word exists. Awareness, yes, awareness. That was my Mexican English. Awareness. So you've learned a lot to do this awareness to have this awareness of how many people do I need? Do I need training? Do I need to involve the communications team? Do I need to involve the IT department, etc.? So again, thank you. And drums, the winner. The winner is PIDS from Spain. So all the team, if you can come here. So, and again, the main argument was, we love that you add the national, a vision, not only for your institution, but you think further wider, and you have a scope, a national scope, and you said, no, I'm international, so I'm going to win an international benefit. So this was, well, you're the winner, so congratulations. Thank you.
So for how much money will you be able to fund us?
We can ask that Dataverse team and CMIT. They are going to be the funders. Now, congratulations, and here are the... So since you're a Pete person now, so you are a Pete person. And also, if you want some swag out there, you can have more ORCID stuff to take away. Excellent. Thank you, thank you. And I think with this, I don't know if someone from CIMIT or... ¿Quieres decir algo? Yo quiero los míos. Te voy a conseguir. Yo sé, pues estás más cerca. Estás más cerca, te los puedo dar. Thank you again. I don't know if there's going to be someone to close the event, because we are done for today workshop. And I know that the event continues. And yeah, let's see if someone from Dataverse can assist to just do the closure. Okay, so if you have time and if you can help us with this last survey, Menti, it will help us also to understand what you've learned, even though, or if you like it or not, or if you have any comments, also, they are welcome.
It is on. Okay. Wonderful. Well, let me tell you. So thank you to Anna's group for coming and doing this today. Much appreciated, because one of the goals we have is to have these regional Dataverse community meetings so that we can reach more of our community that doesn't normally come to the States and interact there. So this is a big focus for Dataverse going forward. And it was wonderful to have Anna's team bring together and be here and present for the community. I tweeted quite a bit, and there's a lot of interaction on the tweets, and Paula is going to retweet all those tweets. So there's a lot of engagement, especially your breakout session, and I made sure to promote, how do you get your organizations to incorporate PIDs as part of their open science infrastructure and open science support. So this was very welcome. Thank you again. And during the next few days, if you guys are not, because I haven't seen any tweets with hashtag capital D Dataverse 2024, because I plan to attend the meeting. Everybody please tweet, please tweet, so we can get the word out there, okay? Thanks. Thank you again.
So thank you, Sonia. And from CIMIT's side, we are really happy to have you here. We are really happy to be hosting this event, this 10th Dataverse community meeting. 10th annual, so it's 10 years already. So I guess you enjoyed today's workshop, and hopefully this is only the first day, and the rest of them will be very joyful for you as well. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, afternoon, and see you tomorrow. And for the people online, see you tomorrow as well.